Chapter 12, Silver and Opals. Harry noticed he had been seeing Dumbledore less and less as the year was going on. And at this point in the year, it was like October, and Hogsmeade weekend was coming up, and they were kind of excited to have a weekend away to get away from things that have been, all the schoolwork and everything. And Harry has been deep in this Half Blood Princess book that he has, and he's been reading. And as he keeps reading into it, he noticed there's more than just potions, like potion help. There's actually spells in there, and certain hexes. It seems like to Harry, it seems like that the Half Blood Prince made up himself. So like one hex, I think it's Muflatio. It just like makes static in someone's ears, and they don't know where it comes from. So you can have a conversation without being eavesdropped on. And then there's another one that he tried just in his room, Levicorpus, which actually he just, and it was a non-verbal spell he noticed. So he just tried it, and it really swept Ron out of his bed, hung him upside down by his ankles, and then he had to quickly look for the counter curse for this spell quickly as Ron was screaming in the air, and was able to get him down. And Hermione was still like silently judging Harry because he's following the instructions in his book, but like him launching a random spell in the room. I agree with Hermione in this part, but like him launching a spell on a random in the middle of the night in the room in the open, not knowing what the spell could do, is pretty dangerous. And she was kind of getting on Harry about that, but it was like it's just all fun. Even Ron is like it was just all fun. Dean and Neville and the other people in the room were laughing as well, so they took it as a joke. And Harry kind of brought up he didn't know what the spell could do, but he said, "I've seen my dad do it." This is the spell that he used on Snape earlier in the previous book when they saw that memory. And this is the spell that his dad used on Snape. But he can say that because he hadn't really told him about the memory when because he was still kind of ashamed of his dad and didn't want them to see him in that light. So he told him differently that he saw it because Lupin told him. And now Hogsmeade is coming up, and so they go to Hogsmeade, and the weather is terrible, and so they're just trying to maybe stay in one or two locations for the trip. I think they go to Three Broomsticks, and Hermione also does bring up that this is the type of spell that Death Eaters used as well when they were taunting the Muggles at the Quidditch World Cup. So that made Harry feel a little bit more bad about doing that spell. But when they walk into the Three Broomsticks, they do see Slughorn, who comes up to Harry right away and says, "Harry, you've been avoiding me." And Harry's like, "Yeah, I've been doing it on purpose," but he doesn't say that, obviously. But he's at Quidditch practice, no stain, because Slughorn keeps trying to invite Harry to his little parties that he's having. Hermione's being the one that's been going because she has no excuse to try to get out of it. And Harry did get a message from Dumbledore about having his next lesson the Monday after the weekend. So he's excited for that, and that's also another excuse for him to miss Slughorn's little party because that's also on Monday. So Slughorn's like, "I'll get you in a party at some point." Harry's like, "Yeah, maybe." And then as they're going through not having the best time at Three Broomsticks, so they leave because it's kind of getting a little stuffy in there. And then Ron is staring at another girl, and they're not really having that great of a time. So they try to go outside and see one of the former Order members, Munungus, I believe, and he is just outside, and they notice that he dropped something, and Ron wants to go pick it up, but he picks it up really quickly, and then all of a sudden Harry grabs him by the throat, throws him on the wall, and has his wand on him. And Harry's like, "That's Sirius's," because it was one of the Sirius's things from the house, and they realize that he's trying to sell Sirius's stuff. So then Hermione and them get Harry off of him, and he kind of gets blasted back by a spell, and Munungus disappears. And then Harry's angry, obviously, because he had Sirius's stuff and he was planning on selling it, so it looks like he just wants the house after Sirius died to get some stuff to pawn off. And then Hermione does remind Harry that it's actually his stuff now because he now owns all of Sirius's stuff. So then he's angry, and that just kind of ruins the mood. He's just angry. He's talking about, oh, that's Sirius's stuff and all that. And then so they kind of decide just to leave because they're not having a good time and the weather is terrible. So as they're coming out, they are also not followed, but two other people came out with him, and it's one of the girls he talked to earlier. I think she's on the Quidditch team, I believe. Yes, Katie Bell, and then they're walking, and look at Katie and her friend behind them. Harry overhears them like arguing about a box, and kind of saying like, "You should give it to me." So they're tugging the box back and forth, and then the box rips open, and Katie is just flung in the air because she touched what was inside the box, and she's just floating in the air, arms and legs and arms like flailed out. She's screaming, and they don't know what to do, so they all grab her legs and like bring her down, and she's like convulsing on the ground. And then Harry wraps up the necklace in his scarf, so no one can touch it. And then they go, and Harry runs and goes get some help. He finds Hagrid, and then he brings Hagrid over, and Hagrid doesn't really know what to do, so he just takes her into Hogwarts, and they're trying to figure out what's happening and why it's happening. They get Professor McGonagall comes out, and they take her to the infirmary. And Professor McGonagall asks what happened. She takes him back to her room, asks what happened, and they tell her what happened. And then Harry brings up um, his suspicions that it's Malfoy, possibly that it was a necklace that was in the box. So he said Malfoy possibly had given her the necklace because her friend says she got the necklace from a bathroom, or maybe she had a necklace beforehand, or I guess the box. And her friend also said maybe she was under a certain curse as well. Maybe she was not herself. She was being controlled by somebody. And Professor McGonagall says, that's a crazy accusation, Harry, about Malfoy. That's possibly not him because Malfoy wasn't in detention with her. So that kind of clears him. But Harry obviously is still suspicious of Malfoy. And he's really the only one that's suspicious of Malfoy at this point because everything that's pointing to Malfoy isn't really adding up, and Harry's kind of just connecting the dots on his own, and they're not going against him because they know there's no arguing with Harry at this point, so they're just, sitting there. Ron and Hermione is looking at each other like, but Harry is still very suspicious of Malfoy.